This is a big room. We could play a hockey game.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Jim Tedesco. I'm the Bergen County Executive. I want to welcome you here to East Rutherford, Bergen County. Thank you all for being here today. It's my honor to welcome you all to Bergen County, the 9th safest county in the United States, according to the U.S. News and World Report. This recognition reflects the dedication of our law enforcement agencies, first responders, and community partners who work tirelessly to protect our Bergen County residents. We are fortunate to have a leader like Governor Murphy, whose commitment to public safety has strengthened communities across New Jersey. His leadership ensures that local governments have the resources and support needed to keep our residents safe and secure. Here in Bergen County, we support our brothers and sisters in law enforcement and remain committed to ensuring that they have the highest levels of training possible. That's why we recently made a $20 million investment in the Bergen County Law and Public Safety Complex to enhance cross-disciplinary training for police, firefighters, and EMS personnel. This investment ensures that our first responders are ready to handle any challenge that comes their way. As we look ahead to New Jersey's role as the host for the FIFA 2026 World Cup, including the final match taking place, the World Cup presents a unique opportunity to showcase Bergen County. It also highlights the need for coordinated efforts to ensure the safety of all who attend. Bergen County is ready to meet that responsibility. Governor Murphy, thank you for your steadfast dedication to public safety and your continued partnership with Bergen County. We love to have you here. Together, we are ensuring that the communities in Bergen County and the state of New Jersey remain safe and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce the governor of the great state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy. Governor.
I just said to Jim, I would like to have him introduce me more often. Thank you. And thank you for your leadership, Jim. I was mentioning the other night, Jim and I were together at the Bergen County reorganization, and I mentioned that we just got the numbers in. This is unrelated to why we're here today. And New Jersey's population growth from 23 to 24 was in the top 10 of the nation. And in terms of actual, that's percentage-wise, actual bodies, it's top half a dozen. And I mentioned that the only other Northeast state was Delaware, and we've got great relations with Delaware. So this is no knock on Delaware, but I looked at Delaware's population move, and I noted that Delaware has fewer people than Bergen County. And you deserve a lot of credit for your leadership. A couple of other off-topic observations, each one of them with a heavy heart. One of them far away. I'm not sure you've been following this, but the fires in Southern California are on zero. Pat and I were just discussing 0% contained. Think about that. Raging, not one fire, but multiple fires, with the potential for being the biggest structural damage fire in the history of our country. We have reached out. Pat has reached out to his counterpart. Tahisha is with hers. I have with Governor Newsom. Up and down the line, we're reaching out. We've reached out to FEMA. New Jersey's ready to help in any way we can, but please keep them in your prayers. Tammy, my wife, reached out to about 30 friends who live in that area. 100% of them either had evacuated or had already lost their homes. So it's an awful tragedy. And closer to home, as we know, early New Year's morning, there was an awful terrorist attack in New Orleans, not with a gun, although at the end it could have been, but with a truck, and 14 folks, innocent folks, lost their lives, 2 of them with a nexus to New Jersey. Tiger Beck, who is not from New Jersey but is a proud member of the Princeton class of 2000 and Princeton University class of 2021, a great football player, apparently a great guy. Our son Charlie knew him, and it's a huge loss. And then closer to home, from Homedale, New Jersey, Billy DeMeo, 25 years old, by all accounts an incredible guy, taken in the prime of his life, a great athlete, a great leader, got a couple of degrees in college. Everybody loved this guy. We are lowering, we'll announce later this morning, we're lowering the flags on Friday in concert with Louisiana. To Louisiana's credit, they're doing a day of mourning for each of the victims. Friday is Billy's day. We will lower our flags in concert with them. You may note that we're already lowered for President Carter's death, but we've done this before when President Bush was passed and there was a national day of mourning, and we've reached out to the family to make sure they know how that works, and we will fly a special flag over the State House and make sure the family has it. So please keep the Beck family, who I believe are from Louisiana, and much closer to home, the DeMeo family of Homedale, in your prayers. Billy is being buried tomorrow. I'm incredibly honored to be here this morning, not just with Jim Tedesco, the great county executive, but my partner in government, Lieutenant Governor Tahisha Way, First Assistant Attorney General Lindsay Rotolo, Superintendent of the State Police, Colonel Pat Callahan. Pat, Lindsay, Attorney General Matt Plotkin, and I were together, sadly, at the funeral yesterday of State Police Major Jeff Burke. Wayne Blanchard and his colleagues were with us, and State Police came out in force, and it was an incredibly emotional send-off for a great guy. So we're here today to mark an important milestone and progress in our efforts to strengthen public safety and protect communities and families across New Jersey. I want to thank Mayor Jeff LaHoulier for hosting us and Team East Rutherford. As Jim reminded us, this is soccer central for the next 2 years. We have the World Club Cup next year, which has never been played before. We have 9 matches, including a quarter, both semis and the final. And, of course, we have the World Cup 8 matches in 2026. The first 7 will be viewed by approximately what is a Super Bowl audience, 100 to 150 million. The final will be viewed, you ready for this, by a scant 3 billion people. So to say the eyes of the world will be on East Rutherford is the understatement of the year. But to Jeff and his team, to all the electeds, Gary Scherer, Assemblyman and great friend, is with us, members of law enforcement. I want to shout out Bergen County Sheriff, especially Anthony Curitan. Great to be at your swearing in the other night, Tony. Again, congratulations to all members of law enforcement. And I also want to give a shout out, and I'll refer to them, and I know Lindsay would want me to our 21 county prosecutors, and a special shout out to Bergen County's own, the outstanding Mark Musella. So we can officially report this morning that in 2024, New Jersey saw the lowest number of shootings in our state's recorded history for the second year in a row. We also saw an 11% decrease in auto thefts, which represents a crucial step in decreasing violent crimes, including shootings, which often begin with an auto theft and escalate quickly, as you all in law enforcement know far better than I. This accomplishment was made possible by all of the leaders with us today, as well as the Attorney General, who could not be with us today, as well as the outstanding women and men of the New Jersey State Police, Pat, under your leadership, the Department of Law and Safety, the dedicated public servants, as I mentioned, in our 21 county prosecutors, our federal law enforcement agencies, and certainly members of law enforcement up and down the state at both the county and local levels. And it was also made possible by heroic community leaders and organizations in every county and community who have done life-saving work. By example, that's why our administration has made historic investments into community-based violence intervention and prevention programs, including providing millions of dollars in state funding to help them expand their efforts. And Gary, we couldn't do this without the legislature standing right beside us. So to you and your colleagues, I thank you. From investing in traditional law enforcement activities, to rebuilding trust in our criminal justice system, to strengthening community-based violence prevention and intervention programs. At every level, we have introduced innovative solutions and collaborated with New Jerseyans across every walk of life to ensure our state is the best place in America to live, work, and raise a family. And it's working. You never declare victory. And while you're going to see numbers as a trend matter, which are meaningfully in the right direction, including on shootings at levels we never thought would get to, there's no number up there that's going to be a zero. And we're all in this committed together to get those numbers as close to zero as possible. But it is clearly, all of the above is clearly working. Because especially over the past couple of years, all of us in partnership have been able to save a historic number of lives from gun violence. And as I mentioned, there is still much progress yet to be made. And as always, our ultimate goal, as I mentioned a minute ago, is to bring these numbers to zero. But we're going to keep doing the work to get there as we run through the tape over the next year. I promise you, even though we've only got 1 year left, we ain't letting up, I promise you. Make no mistake that a whole generation of young people are better off, and in many cases alive, because of the work the folks in this room and in our communities have done. More families have remained intact. More cities and towns are free from the scourge and threat of violence. More children are getting the chance to grow up and live up to their full potential. And what is more important than that? I would argue nothing. So again, I thank all of our partners for their commitment in preventing violent crime and for helping make these numbers a reality. And with that, I'd like to bring up my partner in government, the outstanding Lieutenant Governor of the great state of New Jersey, Tahisha Way.
Okay. Good morning. I am so honored to be here to recognize the good news with our phenomenal Governor Phil Murphy, Colonel Callahan, First Assistant Attorney General Rutolo, and of course, all of the great state and local officials who are here. There is no question that discussions on crime can be polarizing, but the truth is that everyone, no matter their political party, socioeconomic status, race, gender, religion, or zip code, is united in the desire to live in a safe community. And on that note, as a member of this administration, as a recovering attorney, judge, and as a resident of New Jersey, I am thrilled to see this significant reduction in auto thefts, this historic decrease in gun violence. And while I am incredibly proud that our administration has focused steadily on prioritizing safety through common sense policies, we must also acknowledge that this progress is achieved through partnerships with our law enforcement at all levels. Moreover, while our numbers are trending in the right direction, we still have far to go to ensure everyone feels and is safe. The wave of mass shootings that seem to constantly be in the news reminds us of the ever-present danger of gun violence, made worse since the Supreme Court loosened restrictions on carrying a gun in public. And while we can't control what is done on the federal level, we will continue, as Governor Murphy has stated, to do everything within our powers to protect our sacred communities, defend the strict and sensible laws we have, and build on its foundation to continue to combat gun violence in our state. Simply, we all want to live in a safe community, and this is how we get there. One prudent policy at a time. Thank you so much. And Gov, it's back to you.
Tahisha, thank you for your powerful, hi Sam, I didn't see you, for your powerful words and your leadership generally, but I feel better for another reason. I think of myself as a recovering banker. I've got company with a recovering lawyer, so I'm happy to be in business with you. But deep thanks for your leadership, and your comments are very powerful. Please now help me welcome another outstanding leader, the first Assistant Attorney General for the state of New Jersey, Lindsay Rutolo, herself a former prosecutor. Come on down, Lindsay.
Good morning, and thank you so much. On behalf of Attorney General Placken, I'm so honored to join Governor Murphy, Lieutenant Governor Way, Colonel Callahan, and the many leaders from across the state to recognize this remarkable decline in the number of shooting victims and shooting deaths in 2024. In 2023, the New Jersey law enforcement community came together and set what many thought was an impossible goal. We endeavored to bring the number of people shot in this state of nearly 9.5 million people to below 1,000 shooting victims in a single year, something that, since we started collecting this data in 2009, had never been done. Last year, we reached that milestone, and we were able to report that the number of people shot in 2023 had been reduced to 924. In 2024, the number of people shot in New Jersey was even lower, with 778 people shot. That is a 16% decrease compared to the record low we achieved in 2023. Of those 778 people, 152 lives were tragically lost. Make no mistake, each and every one of those lives is a tragedy. But it is a 20% decline from the 191 lives we lost in 2023. That means that there were more people around their family holiday tables last month, and more New Jerseyans were able to ring in the new year with the people they love. We saw these declines in communities across our state, including in many of our major cities. We saw that under the leadership of General Placken and Issa Abbasi, Patterson saw a 4% decrease in shooting victims. Cities like Elizabeth, where Chief Saka leveraged technology to help his department realize a 55% reduction in shooting victims, and Newark, our largest city, where we saw a 15% reduction. We're also proud to announce, as the governor already informed you, that we saw a notable decline of 11% in the number of auto thefts reported in New Jersey compared to this time last year. Dramatic statewide declines in these types of crimes do not happen by accident. These declines are made possible because of the commitment of Governor Murphy, Lieutenant Governor Way, General Placken, Colonel Callahan, and law enforcement and legislative leaders across this state. Leaders who are committed to pursuing innovative public safety policies and programs, passing and defending laws that promote safer communities, and recognizing that relying on traditional public safety methods alone is not enough. This commitment is making a difference in public safety. You are safer in New Jersey because Attorney General Placken has created offices like the Office of Policing Strategy and Innovation. It promotes public safety through identifying best practices for policing so that every department across our state has the tools and methods necessary to safely and justly protect our communities. You are safer in New Jersey because here we are holding firearm industry bad actors accountable. Just weeks ago, the Attorney General's SAFE Office, an office established through legislation signed by Governor Murphy, filed suit against Glock for multiple violations of New Jersey's laws. You're safer in New Jersey because we've invested in our communities as partners in our public safety strategy through, as the governor mentioned, community-based and hospital-based violence intervention programs that are breaking cycles of violence. You're safer because we are the first in the nation to have a statewide program, the Arrive Together program, that ensures residents who are experiencing mental and behavioral health challenges encounter law enforcement and get access to treatment and support services they need. You're safer because Governor Murphy signed into law this year legislation that gives law enforcement the critical tools we need to prevent and prosecute home invasions and residential burglaries so that New Jersey residents feel and are safe in their homes. It is through these efforts that we are able to stop violence before it starts. And while all of these efforts are contributing to the increased public safety New Jersey is experiencing, at the heart of our success is the dedication of and collaboration among the law enforcement community in this state. Attorney General Placken and I want to thank Colonel Callahan and the state police, the law enforcement agencies around the state who are represented here by Chief Russo, President of the State Chiefs Association, Director Furketic and Chief Powell, and the 21 county prosecutors, our partners Peter Andreev of the PBA and Bob Fox at the FOP, who give voice to the more than 40,000 officers serving communities in the state, as well as our federal partners at the FBI, HSI, DEA, ATF, and the Marshal Service. Our success is the result of our collective efforts. Every single month in this very room, Chief Russo, members of our state and state police, members of the AG's gun violence and state and reduction task force and the auto theft task force, as well as representatives from the federal, state, county, and local law enforcement agencies in this state, gather here. Intelligence is shared and compared. Crime trend data is analyzed, and we do not leave this room without strategies that will address the most pressing public safety threats in this state. It is through collaboration like this that New Jersey law enforcement community is able to bring the full force of our more than 500 agencies to bear on the very small number of bad actors who are driving violence in this state. This year's decline in gun violence is the result of extraordinary work by many dedicated people across the state who tirelessly and bravely work to make our communities safer. And I'm so grateful that we are gathered here today to acknowledge those efforts. Attorney General Placken and every member of the law enforcement community we represent here today will not be satisfied until that number is zero, until not a single life is lost to an epidemic that we know is entirely preventable. And so, while we are only a few days into this year, I assure you, we are already hard at work making sure that New Jersey sees an even greater decrease in 2025. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay, for your leadership, and please thank the Attorney General. Before I ask Pat to come up, if we're standing here or someplace like this a year from now, and we've seen a further decline in either one of these metrics. One of the, by the way, please God, we do see that. We take none of that for granted for sure, and as all of us have said, anything that's non-zero is still too high. But if we see improvements next year over this past year, or I should say this year over this past year, one of the reasons will likely be that we put in place some laws that I signed or expanded programs that were already in existence but were not statewide intra-year in the year 2024. So, for instance, I'm not sure when we did this, Lindsay, several months ago, Pat, I signed a bunch of laws that ups the ante for anyone who's stealing an auto, home invasion, particularly if they've got a weapon, et cetera. That's clearly having an impact. The deterrence effect of that, we think, is substantial. On the other side, Lindsay mentioned Arrive Together, which is a landmark reality in America, never mind New Jersey. This is where instead of a member of law enforcement in uniform in a marked car going out on a mental health call that's come in via 911, they're going out, and this will now be statewide. It was not until recently. They're going out in an unmarked car, plain clothes, with a mental health professional, and they make the decision at the point of attack as to who's going to go in and lead. I think we're batting, if not 1,000, close to 1,000 in terms of lack of kinetic reaction from that approach. That should have, I'm praying, both of those, the laws that I've signed and expanding a program from X communities to statewide, please God, that should have an impact on the trends that we see in 2025. With that, please help me welcome another outstanding leader, the Superintendent of the State Police, Colonel Pat Callahan.
Good morning, everybody. Certainly thanks, Governor Murphy, Lieutenant Governor Way, First Assistant. This is a tremendous collaborative effort at a federal, state, county, and local level that is unlike any other state in the nation. And I don't say that in an egotistical way or a bragging way, but 49 other states look to this state as to how we do this. And with chiefs like Chief John Russo, who's the head of the State Association of Chiefs of Police, at every turn, at every initiative, every ask, that togetherness and that collaboration in order to make sure people can live safely in their communities is a reason why we are a national example. So thank you to all of our, certainly of all of our partners. From a national perspective, you heard me talk about that to open up. Our firearms homicide rate is 67% below the national average. That is a staggering statistic. First Assistant talked about that gun violence reduction task force. They meet every single morning to review the arrest on the overnight, and you could set your watch by it. There's about 300 arrests in New Jersey every night, and every following morning, this group of women and men get together, and almost, again, like clockwork, 10 of those 300 are violent recidivist offenders. And a group of analysts and detectives get together and in partnership with our 21 county prosecutors say, we believe that of these 10, 8 we should argue for detention so they don't shoot anyone or so that they don't get shot. And that's a huge piece of this puzzle as well. And I think, again, one of many factors beyond our community intervention programs, the things we're doing with policies and Arrive, just another one of those prongs. Grateful for that task force. The other thing across the board, I don't know if it got highlighted here, our illegal drug-related overdose deaths are down 31% in New Jersey. That is another staggering number. So aside from not having shot victims, to have people who have support from troopers, when detectives are out there giving out Narcan and giving out their personal cell numbers to people struggling in addiction for when they're ready, that trooper takes them to recovery coaches instead of to the county jail. That's huge. That's a huge paradigm shift in law enforcement as community caretakers, and just another factor and another thing that we highlight here this morning. It's also a tremendous source of pride that this state is the only state in America that tracks gunshot victims in real time. And that's critical because we can then take immediate, actionable things to do with insights as to who are the victims, who are the potential shooters, and set our efforts on working with our marshals, with our fugitive task force, with our prosecutors, and going out there as one, because the communities don't care if you have a triangle on your sleeve, if you're wearing a Trenton PD patch, if you're a U.S. Marshal. What they want is women and men to be out there protecting them. And that much I know is certainly true. I'll just close with this again as I started. We have set a national model here in New Jersey that has even spread beyond. We have Canada asking us to explain how do we work our I-95 working group and that trafficking of weapons from Florida all the way up to Maine. We have Sweden coming to New Jersey to say, how do you do this? How do you have daily collaborative efforts to make sure people are safe? So again, a tremendous source of pride, certainly not because of me, but because we have women and men, not unlike Jeff Burke, that are so willing to put others before themselves. And I'm certainly humbled and honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Pat, I don't know where we would be without you, so God bless you and thank you for your leadership. A light note, you mentioned Canada. Apparently, according to some at least, they're applying to be the 51st state. I'd like to know if Greenland is following our lead on some of these policies. Actually, a serious point. I don't know if we still have the slides, but can we put up the auto theft year trend? Is that possible? I just want to make one point before we close. This is Christian, by the way. Okay. Thank you, Christian. this is when Pat said we're the only state in America that does X or Y. Yeah, that's it. No, that was it. Auto thefts. Perfect. So if you look at 2020 and before, you sort of see a fairly steady trend, still with numbers that are way too high, by the way. 12,000, we hardly spike the football when you have 12,000 auto thefts. And you see the post-pandemic 21, 22, 23. Obviously completely unacceptable. They'll write books and make movies about all the mental health and crime-related stuff that came in after 2020. If you look at every state in America, and I would suggest and ask folks to do that, the curve up till 2023 in New Jersey mimics the curve across the country. What does not mimic the curve is what comes after that. And I believe the same is true of shootings in the state. You see a trend that goes up for several years. Most other states, that trend sadly has either gone up further or stayed up. New Jersey has decoupled from the national trend. Again, we're not spiking the football. We're not patting ourselves on the back. But I do think at this point, and again, I defer to the experts here, we know what works and what doesn't work. And we're doubling down on what we believe works. So please, God, we see continued results in this year, 2025. And we'll gather, I'm not sure, Jeff, it'll be in East Rutherford, but we'll gather somewhere a year from now and we'll analyze and we'll be honest about it, what worked and what didn't work. Again, I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor. I want to thank Lindsay and her team and the Attorney General in absentia. Certainly, I want to thank Colonel Pat Callahan. Jim and Jeff, thanks for hosting us so graciously. To Gary in particular, again, I can't say this strongly enough. The laws I mentioned we signed, you can't sign a law unless you got leaders like Gary Scher getting it to my desk. And I want to thank you and your colleagues. To all the members of law enforcement, God bless you all. Stay safe, and deep, deep thanks for everything you do every single day for our 9.5 million member strong New Jersey family. Thank you.